What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. UFC 317, Topuria versus Oliveira is this weekend. I'm here to break it down, starting with the main event, or starting with the with the early prelims, ending with the main event, and I'm gonna break down the whole card. But right before that, I want to make an announcement. Every single week, I'm holding a competition in Tapology. If you join my Tapology group listed right over here, it is tapology.com/group/2048. You can join our Tapology group, and then once you have, all you have to do is make your fight picks. So you come right over here, click this, it edits your picks. I only push the UFC's promotion, so each week we'll do a competition for the UFC. If there's not a UFC that weekend, probably not going to hold one. But you will win if you are first place, like how I was last week. You will win however much money I have in YouTube subscribers. So if it's at 11 like it is right now, you'll win $11. But yeah, outside of that, let's get into making these fight picks. Please join the Tapology group. If you subscribe, it does make the dollar count go up. So if you want to do that instead, that's how you can support. But yeah, let's get right into making the fight picks. We will start with the early prelims. We've got two debuting kids here in Jackson McVeigh and Christopher Ewart. I think I'm going to go with Jackson McVeigh because I was picking him against Cedric Dumas. And just because Dumas is just not one of the most skilled fighters, and I get this guy's debuting, but there's a lot going on with Cedric Dumas, and I just didn't want to pick him in any way, shape, or form. I don't think he's one of the smartest people that there is. I know that kind of equates to helping in fights sometimes, though, but he seems dumb in fights a lot of the time, too. I'm going to be picking McVeigh by a second-round KO. I watched his last fight in the LFA, I think. I watched this fight, the Mateo Garner fight, and he did pretty well in it, although the guy was pretty unathletic. I'm talking Jackson McVeigh himself. I could see him getting the finish here. He's got a big frame for 185, and his clinch game was pretty solid. His knees and elbows were good. Another debuter against Jonata Diniz. We've got Jonata Diniz versus Alvin Hines. I'm going to go ahead and forewarn you guys, Alvin Hines is not a decent heavyweight. It's so hard to, with heavyweights explain. Like, this dude's not bad, but he's not good. He's not a complete freaking blob. Like, he's not just this fat blob dude. So, also capable of throwing head kicks. I like that at heavyweight. Jonata Diniz's hands are a little too fast, I think. This is another thing. He may be the more muscular and athletic-looking heavyweight, but I think that Alvin Hines is not the more athletic one. I think he's just the bigger, more muscular-looking guy. Jonata Diniz's fast hands, he has fast hands for a heavyweight, and rewatching his last fight, I just think he's going to be able to put the hands on Alvin Hines a little early, a little quicker than he can, and Hines throws kicks within punching range, and that's something that I'm going to get into with another fight on this card that I don't like, but I will be picking that fighter to win the fight, even though it's something that's, pretty concerning. I've got Diniz round 1 knockout. We will move on to the welterweight division. We've got Jacoby Smith versus Nico Price. There's not much way to look outside of this one. There's not much to look into here, honestly. You've got an old chinny fighter who has not beaten anyone with talent or skill lately. Let me just make sure I'm right. Yeah, Alex Morono and Alex Oliveira are the two guys he's beaten in the past few years. Jacoby Smith is just one of these guys with a lot of athleticism, and he has some serious knockout power. I think he's going to get Nico Price out of here quick, real quick. If not with ground and pound, I think he may use his wrestling immediately, just start smacking up Nico Price on the ground. Or he just might do it on the feet. Who knows? I think it is going to be a quick round 1 knockout, though. Speaking of round one knockouts, we've got Terrence McKinney versus Vyacheslav Borishev. Borishev is right at that level where if he was just a little better and a little less chinny, I would pick him to upset Terrence McKinney. But I think Terrence McKinney is going to come in with another first round finish. If not, I could see him coming in and using his grappling very, very well. At least initially. Vyacheslav got dropped by Chase Hooper. And that is one of the things that has me very, very worried for him against a guy like Terrence McKinney. Jesus, can't get this right. But yeah, I just think Terrence McKinney's going to catch him early, and if he doesn't, it's going to be the grappling that gets it done. Vyacheslav's ground game is not particularly great. Neither is this. This is obnoxious. Just do that. Let the mullet ride. Just let it be how it is, you know. Anyways, yeah, we picked Terrence McKinney by knockout round one. I think this is going to be a fairly easy fight for Terrence McKinney. Vyacheslav could get it done, but I just think his toughness is gone. Sorry, I just saw this fight. Well, so we'll go with tails. All right, we got Viviane Araujo versus Tracy Cortez. It's a women's fight. There you go. I picked Cortez by decision because that's just kind of what Viviane loses to. She doesn't win by decision, or she doesn't get finished. I mean, moving on to one of the harder fights of the night to call. I think Hyder Emil versus Jose Delgado is one of the tougher fights to call because Hyder Emil brings a pressure that, like, if you just can't handle it after round one, you can kind of crack him early and land good on him early. He's not athletic or anything crazy, but he kind of keeps the same pace the entire fight, and it's a solid pace. Like, it's a high pace. Like, he comes after you and is constantly pressuring you backwards, constantly making you use lateral footwork, and he's cutting you off the entire time. Jose Delgado had very good footwork in the fight against Connor Matthews, landed some very good shots, and I could see him knocking out Hyder Emil, but I could also see Hyder Emil just breaking him after in the second, like late second round. You start seeing him not able to use his footwork as well. This is such a tough fight to call. I never want to pick against Hyder Emil. Never want to. But I think I'm going to have to. This 27-year-old kid, Delgado, looked really good in his fight against Connor Matthews. And I think Connor Matthews was a bit underrated in the sense of I don't think he was as bad as everybody was making him out to be. I think he was a solid fighter and just fought some fucking tough matchups. And, yeah, I think that Hyder Emil is going to sadly lose to Jose Delgado. I think it's going to be a round 2 knockout. I think he's going to be, pressuring early, getting caught early. Maybe he gets dropped in the first round and starts to land a little bit in the late first and early second while Delgado's just fresh again right after the break. I think somewhere within that first minute and a half, maybe he knocks him out. Big overhand right, something like that. Big left hook. Yeah, I've got Delgado by round 2 knockout. A lot of knockouts on this card so far. Maybe I should pick something else, but, can't really think of anybody that's gonna submit anybody on this card so far. Like, maybe the Terrence McKinney fight could be a submission. Like, Terrence McKinney could submit Vyacheslav, but I just don't know. It's not one that immediately jumps out to me. Next, we've got Jack Hermanson and Gregory Rodriguez. In the middleweight division, we've had, a year and some change of Jack Hermanson not fighting since fighting Pyfer. And Gregory Rodriguez just coming off this TKO loss to Jared Cannonier. I don't look at that as, too bad of a loss, especially against a dude like Jack Hermanson. I think Jack Hermanson is more on, like, that fight with Pfeiffer was very close, and I think Rodriguez is a little better than Pfeiffer in the setup of his strikes and stuff like that. Like, he can actually get to where he can hurt you before, like, without just landing a single strike. He can set up his strikes typically, but he just looked like he gassed against Jared Cannonier. He was doing very well, gassed out. I think he's going to end up beating Jack Hermanson. I don't see the easy path to victory here for Hermanson outside of, like, you know, doing what he did against Pfeiffer, absorbing some shots early, winning the fight later. I think this time off is going to be a bad thing for him. He's also 37 now. Gregory Rodriguez is 33. We are in Gregory's prime, where Hermanson has came out of it and is just kind of settling into, you know, his career potentially after fighting. Next, we move to the main card. We've got Felipe Lima versus Peyton Talbot. This is the fight I was talking about where leg kicks within range may be or within boxing range may be an absolute problem. Felipe Lima tends to throw leg kicks in boxing range, and that is something you should not do against Peyton Talbot. Peyton has some good counters, great striking. Grappling could be better. Hani Barcelos exposed it pretty badly in that sense. I do think that that Peyton Talbot has a very solid chance to win. Like, I don't think people on Tapology are picking him quite enough. I think this should be like a 40% to 60% kind of pick rate. I like Felipe Lima, though. This kid's very technical. I saw Lucas Tracy put out a video saying that he, like, blitzes way too often, looks exactly like Cameron Simon on the feet. This dude knows nothing about striking. He does not look anything like Cameron Simon on the feet. He is extremely technical. He typically doesn't overcommit on strikes. Like, he doesn't go over his feet with his head outside of sometimes when he's dipping and ducking, but with his strikes, he's not coming over his own feet with his head, trying to swing with craziness. He stays pretty technical. He stays back, jabs. He fights very technically, and I like that. I do think he can get a finish against Peyton Talbot. I do think it would be in the second round if he did, and I could see it being a submission. I just don't know. It's tough because you haven't seen Felipe down at bantamweight in a little while, because he used to fight at bantamweight, but his last two fights in the UFC have been both featherweight fights. I'm going to pick him by decision. I think that this will be one of the few decisions on the card. Felipe Lima is very good, though. I think that people just don't understand quite how technical and skilled this kid is. Flying knees nearly take him out of the cage, and he's 5'6". Like, he nearly flies over the cage. It's awesome. I really like this kid. He's awesome. Can't wait to see this fight. Moving on to the lightweight division, we've got Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. This is an interesting matchup. Should have happened some months ago, while Moicano was on his absolute tear. He has now taken a loss to the great Islam Makhachev, and that's not a bad loss to take by any means, but and that's not why I have decided to pick who I'm picking. I'm picking Beneil Dariush because I think that we're gonna get not vintage Dariush, but I think people have forgotten about this dude as well. People are discounting his or not discounting his losses, but like his losses are to Charles Oliveira and Arman Sarukian. These are two really good fighters. Really, really good. His is to Islam. These things happen. I think Dariush is the more skilled fighter. This is a dude who beat Gamrot. I'm not quite sure that Renato could beat Gamrot. And on the feet, I think that Beneil is just more of a problem than Renato. I could see Renato jabbing him up, using his striking pretty effectively in the first round, maybe getting caught in the second and finished. So that's what I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick round 2 TKO for Dariush. I think that hurts him badly, maybe finishes him off. He's not going to do what Jalen Turner did. If he drops Hinata Moicano, Moicano is not going to have time to survive. Like or not have time to survive, but not have this like just free get up after getting knocked down. Beneil's going to be on him after that. Although looks like an old man. They're both old. They're the same age. Next, we're moving to the flyweight division. We've got the kid who fights what feels like weekly or monthly in Joshua Van versus Brandon Royval. Man, Royval is such a big flyweight, and the problems we've seen in Joshua Van's game have been from guys who have some solid range. Edgar Shira has knocked him down. Charles Johnson finished him. I think the knees up the middle are going to be a problem. Kicks, knees up the middle are going to be a big problem for Joshua Van. I originally thought maybe that Royval kind of finishes him. But honestly, man, I really, really don't know. It's tough. I think if one of those knees catches him up the middle, he will be finished. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick round 2 knockout for Royval. I think early in the second round, kind of similar to the Jose Delgado and Hyder Emil fight. Maybe Joshua Van's starting to do good at the end of the first round, and then beginning of the second round starts, we immediately get into it. Royval lands a knee up the middle. Joshua Van's hurt already, and Royval just swarms him, and it's over. Maybe even subs him after. I mean, I'm not too sure that would happen, but, I think that's very possible. Staying in the flyweight division, we're moving to the co-main event of the evening, but it's a title fight. We've got Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai France. This is the second time they fought. The first time was an exhibition. Sorry, my cat is the old lemon is getting in my lap, and she takes her time to do so. Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai France. This is their second fight. This is the second time they've met. The first time wasn't a professional bout. It was in the UFC's. It was in the Ultimate Fighter. Sorry. She is obnoxious. It was in the Ultimate Fighter, and I'm pretty sure Pantoja won a decision, but it's only 2 rounds there. I think Pantoja is going to outwork and end up submitting in the 3rd round. I don't know. Kai France just kind of isn't tough. I almost want to pick KO, but the submissions on this card aren't plentiful enough for me to do it, and I'm sure somebody will get a submission. Pantoja's just the bigger, more skilled, more athletic, less technical on the feet, but way better on the ground. The gap on the ground is way bigger than the gap on the feet. So I think Pantoja's closer on the feet to Kai France than Kai France is good on the ground, or close to Pantoja on the ground. I think this is a fairly easy setup. I mean, Pantoja is old, though. We do have to think about that, people. Like, this dude could get knocked out at any moment. I know it's flyweight. And Kai France has enough pop to do it, I guess. Pantoja's 35. 35 curse applies. He could lose here. I'm picking him to win by submission just because I think the skill gap is that big. Kai France is terrible in my opinion. All he has is a big overhand right at flyweight. You need to throw combinations. Need to set up your knockouts. It helps, I promise. Moving on to the main event of the evening, we have Ilia Topuria. Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. It's a good fight. It's a very good fight. Ilia has great, outstanding boxing, good grappling. That he doesn't, he hasn't implemented it enough to say it's incredible grappling. We assume that it is because of what he did to Ryan Hall and a couple other guys on the ground. Once he decided to actually start engaging on the ground, he massacred him. It made it look horrific. he's at least very knowledgeable of the ground game. He is not, in my opinion, getting submitted by Charles Oliveira unless he is already hurt. If Oliveira like head kicks him, drops him, all right, you need to get down. Sorry. If Charles Oliveira drops him, I could see him submitting him, maybe like guillotine, Darce choke, something like that. Just something real hard for a dude with short limbs to get out of against a guy with long limbs. If you get locked up into a triangle choke, I think Ilya can escape it. There's several different other chokes I think he could escape. But right now, I've got Ilya winning by round 1 knockout. I think this fight's going to be very easy in the sense of Oliveira walks forward. He's aggressive. He is hittable. And that's what worries me mainly for him. I love Charles Oliveira. He's one of my favorite fighters of all time. But I think that Ilia Topuria is one of these guys who is generational. He works incredibly hard to craft his game together. And he knows how to land on these guys once they're at a certain point. Like, once they're at a certain distance from each other. He understands where he can land and where you can. And he's just so good at it. If he touches Charles' chin, it's not like he's going to disintegrate him. But he is going to hurt him really badly. And unlike literally everyone else that knocks Charles down and gives him time to recover by not going to the ground with him, Ilya will go to the ground with him. And that's what's sad. Ilya will go to the ground with him and hammer fist him and keep punching. He may go for an arm triangle, something like that. That's what you kind of got to hope for, is that he subs Ilya, or subs Oliveira, sorry. Instead of knocking him out, because that could be the end of Oliveira's career if he knocks him out, because Oliveira has talked very much so about not fighting for much longer. And I would love to see him catch the belt back, or if he lose by submission and just not retire, because I want to see him keep fighting. That's my greed, though. Anyways, I've got Ilia Topuria by round 1 knockout. I think that with Charles's aggressive plan to come forward and attack, I think that it's just going to open things up for Ilya a little bit. Although, he could catch Ilya with his aggressive game. Ilya's defense is very solid, but it is typically boxing defense. I could see him getting caught by Charles and then submitted, like I said, or just caught and knocked out in general. But I've got round 1 knockout for Topuria. I think he's going to be able to evade all those crazy shots from Oliveira. Although Oliveira is very technical, he just gets hit. That's the only problem. You get hit by a guy who's unskilled as Chandler, you're going to get hit by a guy like Topuria. And it's going to be really bad. Those are my picks for this weekend's card. We can go back over them, I guess, now. We will be picking Ilia Topuria by round 1 knockout, Pantoja by round 3 sub, Royval by round 2 knockout, Dariush by round 2 knockout, Felipe Lima by decision. We've got Gregory Rodriguez by round 2 knockout, Delgado by round 2 knockout, Cortez by decision, Terrence McKinney by round 1 KO, Jacoby Smith by round 1 KO, Janata Deniz by round 1 KO, and McVeigh by round 2 KO. Those are my picks. Follow them if you want to. There is a lot of money-making opportunities on this card. Follow your heart. Bet responsibly. Yeah. This is a great card. Can't wait for next week. Or this week's card. Or next week's card. I can't wait for this weekend. Like, subscribe, make the payments of Tapology stuff increase. If you want to join Tapology and win the money, like win money back, or win money in general, because it is completely free, join the Tapology group. I have it linked in the comments section down below. Please join it. Have a great day. Follow my fight picks if you want to. Goodbye.